Good Thursday to you, everybody, in COM 636. Welcome to week 5 plus 2, 7. Bam. You've almost made it. We're near the end of the 8-week semester. You've rounded that back curve, and you are in the home stretch. Good job. Coffee to you. Okay, how's everybody doing? Well, first things first. I still have kicking a little bit of a cold, so if I'm kind of forgive me, but I deeply apologize for the late presentation of this video. I have been having just a devil of a time with Blackboard. I do not know what's going on with the program. You know, the video, the recorder wouldn't start. It would start, and then it'd get all jinky. So I was like, on the screen. It would record, but then it wouldn't save. And I said, okay, finally, forget it. So I'm recording this on a little, program, and then I'm uploading it to my YouTube channel, which I never use. So what you're going to see is the link, or you've already seen it because obviously you're watching this video if you click the link to the video. Okay. So normally, you get these things from me Tuesday, Wednesday. Again, I don't offer this by way of an excuse, but an explanation. My apologies. Okay. So let's get to a little bit of house cleaning. And I mean, speaking of which, as we come up to break, my whole office here is about to get a major overhaul. First things first, I've run out of shelf space. It's an ongoing problem that I have that I realize, yes, that I am the principal cause of the problem because I keep buying books. And you might be saying, as you're watching this, but hey, Dr. Gardner, what about that all that space that we see right there behind you? Yeah, no, that space is reserved for camera equipment. It happens to be off of the shelf right now because it's in some of my equipment packs because I've been out and about on a few projects, one in Iraq and then one upcoming here in the United States. Space is reserved, but for everywhere else, gotta fix it. I mean, look. You see all of this? It just keeps stacking up around me, and it's a problem. So, but enough about me. Let's talk about you and some house cleaning items. All right. So as we near the end of the semester, a couple of dates to keep in mind. Your portfolios, that is really your websites, are due December 15th. So that's less than a week. Some of you have reached out to me, said, hey, I'm not quite getting what it is do I do with this element or that element. One of the things that's come up is what do I do for, with, or about the video? Hey, for any one of these elements, I'm not going to tell you, well, it must be this or it must be that. Part of the exercise is the creative exercise. And that means it's up to you. So, for instance, a couple of you asked me, what should I do for the video? I don't know. Do an introduction of yourself, and then a short presentation about what it is that you specialize in as a communication professional. Okay, that's just a suggestion. That's not a requirement. That's up to you. If you've not built a website before, and you get stuck, please reach out to me by way of email. There's a lot of drag and drop options out there. You really do not have to do any kind of coding or any of that sort of thing to get this done. Okay, this exercise is designed to make you familiar by way of experience with these communication/mediation communication tools. That's the point. All right, so don't get too worked up about it. Second thing to note on your calendar is the final exam. That is 1 week from today. That's how we'll finish out the semester. How do you prepare for this exam? Go back to the discussion boards. Make sure that you can answer the questions, and specifically look for terms or theories, concepts contained not just within the question, but within the context of the reading. So, for instance, I'll say, what did Nicholas Carr have to say about such and such in The Shallows? All right, so make sure you go back to that section that you referenced to find your answer. Look at a little bit, and what I mean by a little bit, like less than a page of what comes before and what comes after. I'm not going to just pull things at random from points in the text without like, oh, hey, guess where in the textbook this is coming from. That's not why I'm asking you to do that. I'm asking you, for instance, if you were asked to give a short answer that explained, why is it that Sherry Turkle says this book is not about robots? Okay, you would have to have read a little bit, before and after that bit where Turkle says this is not a book about robots to answer the question. So that's what I mean. That's how you prepare for the exam. Okay, you get one shot to do it. It is a timed test. All right, you'll get 2 hours to do it. I'll open it up on, let's see, let me take a look at the calendar here. I'll open it up on the 16th and I'll close it on the 17th. And then you're done. You'll be finished with the semester. All right, wouldn't that be nice? Okay, if you have any questions or concerns about the exam, please, again, reach out by way of email to me and I'll be happy to help you. Okay, let's take a look at the readings from last week. Week 6. Okay, we are making our way through Alone Together. So speaking of potential exam questions, that was the first question to you. Oh, hang on. What does Turkle mean when she writes, this is not a book about robots? Cite the text in writing your answer. And I'm asking you to do that is cite the text, because again, I want you to be familiar with the context of either the term or the particular focus. Or I dislike the word concept because it's so misused in writing. So you're not going to hear me say that a lot. And if I do, make a comment on the video. Say, hey, cut that out. But anyway, back to the question. Okay. Let's see. Charlotte, let's take a look at you. In the introduction of Alone Together, Turkle states, this is not a book about robots. This statement means that on the one hand, technology enables humans to stay in touch with one another, but on the other hand, hide from one another. Turkle offers us substitutes for connecting face-to-face. Technology, excuse me, not Turkle. You wrote it correctly. I read it incorrectly. Face-to-face, for example, Turkle explains that humans prefer texting versus talking, keyboards versus human voices. We form new identities, online persona on social media platforms, like Second Life. We're talking about that this week. Followers versus friends, and often wonder to what degree our followers are friends. Okay, yeah, that's all true. Good answer, Charlotte. But again, thinking ahead to sort of prep for the final exam. If I asked you that question, could you give it in brief and just kind of boom, bam? Kaylee, let's take a look at what you did, because I think you really hit the nail on the head in terms of answering it in brief. Turkle expresses that her intentions when writing this book was not to address the actual robots, but how they have changed our lives and societies. Technology has changed ways we interact with people entirely. However, as you mentioned, we still sometimes feel alone or lonely despite being connected to people through technology. Excellent. Okay, so what she's getting at here in the book, it's not the robots that's the question. It's the human relation. It's the human connection. It's what's happening to us as we move our interactions further and further into mediation. Because a robot is a mediated device. Somebody built and programmed this Furby. And it's a particular type of mediation in that, unlike, say, this device, in which I might be talking to you through here, a robot, I'm not talking to anybody, except for, in many ways, myself. which is kind of weird. I mean, interesting. So yeah, that's a good way to put it. Okay. Question number 2. Marshall McLuhan is credited with saying, "We often expect technology to do for us what we will not do for ourselves, and we are just as often disappointed." After reading chapter 2, Alive Enough, would you agree or disagree with McLuhan? Reference the text. Okay, Sarah, let's see what you're up to here. Actually, let's go with Brandy first. Brandy, I believe there's a relevance to McLuhan's perspective on technology. However, Turkle's insights about Furby experience inspire an alternative viewpoint. Due to our growing dependency on technology, it makes sense that we have expectations for performance. This is particularly true of mobile devices that we pay ridiculous amounts of money for, usually due to some fancy bells and whistles and its features. And that is certainly very true. In the case of the kids with the Furbies, this was one more example of expecting technology to mimic what we do rather than compensate for what we do not do. As Turkle notes, children enjoy the teaching task. McLuhan points out points may be more relevant to specific groups of technology users like adults, but I disagree that his viewpoint is universal to all users. Okay, interesting point. I mean, a lot of things going on in there. First of all, you mentioned the upgrades in technology, and I have to say, as a communication guy, as a consumer, I'm always amused by the ad campaigns for new stuff. Because it's like, okay, this is it. This is the version of the product that just does everything that you've been waiting for. You have to get this, which, whether explicitly or usually implicitly, suggests that the last version that the producer told us was the version that you need to get is crap, is outmoded, outdated. And I'm like, okay, so wait a minute. How do I take you at your word? Do I take you at your word this time? This is the one. And those other times though, that wasn't the one. Or do I not take you at your word? All right. So you make a good point there, Brandy. Let me go to Sarah, and then I'll come back to you, Brandy. I do agree with McLuhan's statement. We often expect technology to do for us what we will not do for ourselves, and we are just as often disappointed. We have an expectation that the next big technological innovation will be the one to finally fulfill our needs. We hold relentless optimism and human-like connections to digital devices, only to be unfulfilled and disappointed yet again. Okay, good answer. And that is really more of what McLuhan is getting at. And so, Brandy, now, it's perfectly valid point. And if you have that position that you disagree that his viewpoint is universal to all users, that's okay. What McLuhan was getting at was not one user group as opposed to another, children as opposed to adults, but rather the human tendency, whether we're small or large, to want these connections, experiences, relationships, and then expect that the material thing is going to provide us with the non-material experience. And it doesn't work. And now, to explain a little bit about Marshall McLuhan, very, very interesting guy. If you haven't read, a lot about him already, I encourage you to do so. Very Christian. He was Catholic. He was he went to Mass every day. He had a tremendous devotion to a couple of the saints. And not, for those of you that don't know, like, Catholics don't worship saints and the Blessed Mother. They look to them as exemplars for a good Christian life. All right. And so that was Marshall McLuhan. And by way of his thought process as a thinker, McLuhan was what could be called a Platonic realist. Now, there are two major thought camps: Platonic realism and Aristotelian nominalism. Now, you can read about Platonic realism if you read some of the dialogues by Plato. Plato puts a lot of his philosophy in the words, in the mouth, excuse me, of Socrates. Okay, but at the heart of Platonic realism is this notion, this proposition that in this material plane we seek, we long for. It's just hardwired into us. We can't help ourselves. We are looking for and ever longing for perfection, not of things, material things, um, but of the essentials to who we are as connected beings: perfect love, perfect justice, perfect beauty, perfect harmony, um, perfect fulfillment of the self. Now, for Plato and Platonic realists, the reasons that we do this, that they propose, is that we were in contact with these perfect experiences: perfect love, perfect fulfillment, perfect beauty, perfect justice, on and on and on, before we arrived here in this material plane. Now Plato was not a Christian. He was, working and writing the better part of 3 centuries before Christ was born. But as a Greek, he was a member of a growing school that began to say that there was a singular, all encompassing consciousness to the universe, and the Greeks called this the logos, which maybe roughly translated means the awareness. That I mean, we call it God the Father. Okay, so different lingo, similar concept. There was the logos that we all belonged to, we were all connected with, before we got to this material plane. Now, if you read the trial of Socrates, for example, one of the things that he was accused of by the Athenians was teaching atheism, because he taught a monotheism. So he did not teach the plurality of, and this isn't Socrates writing, this is Plato writing about Socrates. He did not teach that there was a plurality of gods. There was a singular one, the logos. So for Plato and Platonic realists, we have a contact, a connection with this logos before we get here. And having had that contact and connection, we are always longing for those experiences that were a part of our being when we were not in this material plane. But there's a gap in the material plane, because the material plane is imperfect. The material plane is not the non-material plane. And as a consequence, we are forever longing for, say, perfect love, perfect connections, perfect justice, perfect harmony. And so what McLuhan is saying, and he's not pitching to you Socrates, but what he's saying is that we have that longing, and instead of acting on behaviors that help close that gap, we often insert technologies, and not just phones. Okay, I mean, this goes, I see a lot of you in your paper say, well, new technology is changing how we interact, which kind of begs the obvious, and it makes us less aware, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, you can go back to roll it back, man. Let's go backwards. From television to cinema to radio to telegraph to Pony Express, messages carried rapidly, to writing. I mean, even, way, way back to the point of orality, in which there wasn't anything written. Right? This is an ongoing phenomenon. Okay, so that's what McLuhan is up to, saying we have these longings. We're constantly trying to insert material things into a problem that is not caused by a lack of material, and it's just not going to work. You know me. I'm always hawking books. I should have like an Amazon account that all these things. Excuse me. I think the department would frown on that. If you're interested in Marshall McLuhan, I know I've recommended some of his works, but let me recommend this one to you. That this is not written by him, but written by scholars who study him with sort of an unusual twist. Okay, the name of the book is The Muse the medium is the muse. Excuse me. The medium is, because I'm reading it backwards. The medium is the muse, and it's a collection of short stories, reflections, and poems. Some cartoons by McLuhan scholars. So like for instance, I don't know if you can see this doodle. Okay, so you have the typical graduate student standing there, and in the bubble above his head, he's thinking, "It's a rare medium that's well done." All right, that's kind of a McLuhan joke. And there are poems and short stories about all sorts of things in here. Here's one by Lance Straight. He was, or still is, the head of the Media Ecology Association, which spends a lot of time studying McLuhan. This is from what's the name of this piece by Mr. Straight? The medium is, okay. Our media are extensions of ourselves. They come between ourselves and the world. They screen and filter the world. Max Frisch said, technology is the art of never having to experience the world. But what comes between ourselves and our world becomes our world. And so we become what we behold, because the medium is the membrane. Okay, so it's not a textbook in the sense that it's going to have a discussion. It's kind of like a reflection, right? It's a good book. Give it a look. I think you're going to enjoy it. Okay, and I'll put the link in the announcement per usual. Okay, question number 3. What problems, in your opinion, does My Real Baby solve? What problems does it create? Reference the text in giving your answer. Okay, Mimi, I like what you're up to here. Turkle writes, in the phenomenon of Scott and Alan's playgroup, My Real Baby is alive enough to torment and alive enough to protect it. Adults watching this, a group of teachers and my research team, feel themselves in an unaccustomed quandary. And this is, you're quoting here from the text. If the children had been tossing around a rag doll, neither we nor presumably Scott would have been as upset. But it's hard to see My Real Baby treated in this way. All of us, the Furbies that complain of pain, My Real Baby that do not, creates a new ethical landscape. My Real Baby causes children to recognize their actions, or so it's presumed. The problem My Real Baby created was an ethical issue. The computer toys of the 1980s only suggested ethical issues as when children played with the idea of life and death, when they killed their speak and spell by taking out the toy's batteries. Yeah. So, the proposed purpose, the proposed problem that this solves is to teach children how to be responsible for other children. But the problem that it creates is it puts in their mind this idea of shortcut. That is, when the prodigy, the baby, becomes difficult, well, you just take the battery out. Yeah, in how many ways and how many contexts have we heard the maxim, don't shake the baby? Okay, that's not going to solve the problem. Okay, Heather, let's see what you have to say. Hasbro created My Real Baby to help children understand how to take care of a child. Turkle's example in chapter 4. Although show the respondents actually used My Real Baby to solve problems such as loneliness and family responsibility during the study, yet My Real Baby only provided a temporary, limited solution to the problem presented. My Real Baby seems to offer genuine comfort to 10-year-old Callie, who had absent parents. Callie found joy in raising the toy and demonstrating her ability to be a loving mother. However, My Real Baby did not solve Callie's actual problem. The toy offered only a temporary fix. Through caring for the toy, Callie momentarily fulfilled her desire to be loved. Regardless, My Real Baby could not offer genuine love that would replace the absence of her parents. Callie needed her family's love and attention. Excellent answer. And, forget about, just put the My Real Baby aside for a minute. And, you get at what is a persistent problem socially that we have now. And that is, as we have these broken, non-supportive families, we have young women, and I mean young, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, that come out of this desiring love, which is, this is a fundamental human need. We are connected by design. They come out of these families believing that if if they give their love to a child, then that child will give it back, and they will in turn be loved. And they have children when they're teenagers, which is no bueno for them and for the child. Now, in a different time and a different place in human society, children are, teenagers having children was part of the norm. Our life expectancy was shorter. Our social structure was much different than it is now. So, what we're experiencing, and where this sort of my real baby is inserted, it's this crash of these two lines on the graph, and that one of them is the rise in the dysfunctional family, going up, 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 crashes with the structure of society that supports children having children. Because again, in many cultures, including the West, in another time and another place, young children, we would consider children, teenagers having children, was the norm. That's not true anymore. And we've got this collision point, and we go, oh, okay, let's insert a robot. But see, it doesn't get at the fundamental problem, as you're pointing out, Heather. The fundamental problem, what lacks here, is not the thing to give love to, or to give that, and expect that you get love back from. What's lacking here is the family, and a robot isn't going to replace that. So, question number 4: briefly summarize the history of Paro. Share your thoughts about this technology. Additionally, watch the following commercial for Moxie, and I sent you the link. And then asked for your response, and I'll say a little bit about this. I've been watching this product for a number of years, but let's get to you first, Chidi. Paro is an advanced interactive therapeutic robot, okay, by Japanese engineers. It was initially intended to support citizens with dementia. However, it can, it sort of looks like a seal or something. I mean, if you've taken a look at this thing. However, it can help patients with cognitive disorders, PTSD, social isolation, palliative, hospice care. The robot has sensors and thus respond to petting and sound. It can show emotions like happiness and sadness. I like that it gives people a measure of control over their health conditions to help themselves, okay? Similarly, Moxie is an artificial intelligence AI robot for children between 5 and 10 years old. I admit I was somewhat frightened with all the movies about machines taking over the world. However, I also acknowledge that having an intelligent robot friend as a child is a natural progression from having an imaginary friend. Love it or hate it, robots like Moxie are marketing responses to genuine customer needs, such as managing school, bullying, and single parenting. Okay. Okay, interesting answer. True. I mean, these products aren't coming out of nowhere. Now, sometimes that does happen in manufacturing, that someone will say, wow, wouldn't it be great if we could get everybody to buy this? They create the product, and then they tell you that there's a problem that you have that this product solves. You see that a lot in food. Okay. You got to have a snack. You deserve a break. You can't, you're hangry and you can't function. You'll turn into Betty White. So here, eat this candy bar. Okay. That's not really a problem. I mean, the human body is designed to go without food for long periods of time. And I don't mean days and days. Now, water, we're actually designed to go without water for long periods of time. Food, we can comfortably go without food for, nothing to eat, 24 to 48 hours with no harm to the body. So they create the sense that there's a problem, and whoa, here's the solution, buy this. Okay. So that does happen. But in this case, I think you're right. I think they see this as a problem, and they go, okay, here's the solution. Joel, I'm not quite sure how to respond to this post, as I have mixed reaction to the technology indicated. I understand the benefits that Turkle indicated with the therapy robot known as Paro. I have witnessed the pits of despair on this earth known as nursing homes. In fact, I worked in one for 3 years, just FYI to folks. I've read about Japanese therapy robots. I felt it could significantly affect the elderly who have no options other than living in a nursing home. Moxie was wrong. It's an example of what is wrong and disturbing regarding parenting in the capitalist society. And I think, Stephanie, you said it creeped me out. A robot that sends a child on a mission should be viewed as troubling. From our birth to the age of 5 is where we learn to attach ourselves to caregivers. How strange it would be then when a child attaches to a robot because parents refuse to engage in responsible conversation. Moxie is an example of robots programming humans. Okay, good answer. And Chidi, your answer was perfectly fine. I remember when I first saw this commercial, and it's been a couple of years now, and I honestly thought it was a joke. I mean, it was a spoof. I thought it was something like, you would find of the Babylon Bee or the Onion. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. This can't be real. I mean, I'm always sort of tracking technologies and media and anyway, and I thought this was a spoof. Because here you have this child, and by way the actor is portraying the child, one would assume that this child is somewhere on the autism spectrum. They're just sort of out to lunch. They're non-responsive. Verbally and emotionally. They have this neutral affect, and the parents are like, hello, hello, hello. Okay. And the child is staring into a screen. What's wrong here? So if the child is withdrawn, and whether it's because, say, from an emotional cognitive issue or the effects of a parenting issue. If the child is withdrawn, the solution to the withdrawn child is not more technology. The solution is part of the cause, unless, of course, we're talking about, someone on the autistic spectrum, on the autism spectrum. The solution is to reverse the cause, and that is more interaction with people, the parents. And so because this is not a commercial marketed at kids. This is a commercial marketed at parents. And here we have these quite literally physically distant parents who won't step in to the issue that is their withdrawn child, referenced, visualized by. They won't even come through the doorway. It's like this space. Oh, we can't go in there. We don't understand. We don't know what to do. And instead, enter the robot. This is exactly what Turkle is getting at, and that she sees as problematic. And what it really comes down to, sort of get down to brass tacks, is the only way to solve problems of human connectivity, that is lack thereof, or the wrong kind, et cetera, is more and better human connectivity. And so, it sort of reminds me of a quote by a German director whose work I'm very, very fond of, Werner Herzog. And he's once quoted with saying, "The only way to quit smoking is to quit smoking," meaning the only way to do something is to do something. The only way to repair a human relationship is to repair a human relationship that is with a human. And likewise, and Turkle sort of raises this question when talking about Paro. Well, okay, that these people are in nursing homes, and I've worked in nursing homes a lot, and or they're at end of life, like you know, Chidi. What about the people? What about the family? We should be very cautious. Sort of full circle back to McLuhan about using devices to substitute for solutions to problems that only we are the solution for. So if you want to feel more friended, I'm thinking of Seneca, the great Stoic. If you want to have more friends, be a friend. If you want to be more liked, like. If you want to feel more connected, connect. Look, and this isn't a moral lecture to everybody. I will tell you that for my part, I actually write. In fact, let's see right back here. I have a whole bunch. Let me just pull this out here real quick. I have a whole bunch, sort of various collections of actual paper cards and envelopes. All right, This one has, what does this have? This one has dragonflies on it. You know, why not? All right. What's the point? Because I write letters by hand. Now, again, I'm not telling you this because I'm saying, oh, hey, here's Dr. G and he's superior to. No. It's in recognition of the truism that the solution to a deficit is like saying, I'm thirsty, I need water. The solution is not to say like our football coaches used to tell us, the solution is not to suck on a penny. The solution to a desire for water is water. The solution for a desire for human connection and contact is human connection and contact. And there's just not a substitute for that. Anyway, okay, everybody, keep up the fantastic work. Finish up those online portfolios. Again, if you have any questions, shoot them to me. Likewise, go back, start reading the discussion posts so you're ready for the exam. And I think, you're going to be just fine. Everything is going to come out. We're going to finish with a great semester, and then it'll be time to take a little bit of a break, for Christmas. Okay, everybody, I'm thinking about you. I'm praying about you during this season, and I'll see you on Blackboard. Bye-bye.